All right, let's go ahead and get started here. Again, welcome. Today's Monday morning. We'll be going until about 9:30 today. Let me get through the disclaimers and we'll get to the charts. Trading the foreign exchange on margin carries a high level of risk and may not be suitable for all investors. And I need to get the thing started before I always forget that. Eva, you forgot to tell me, remind me today.
It looks to me like it's already recording.
Nope, not yet. It shouldn't be.
Yeah, it's recording, my friend.
Okay, Paul is it's recording now, right?
It was recording before as well. The recording has been going for about 10 minutes.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yep.
Okay.
I thought that's okay. You were just making sure, and we'll just edit later.
But trading the foreign exchange on margin carries a high level of risk and may not be suitable for all investors. The high degree of leverage can work against you as well as for you. Before deciding to invest in foreign exchange, you should carefully consider your investment objectives, level of experience, and risk of appetite. The possibility exists that you could sustain a loss of some or all of your initial investment, and therefore you should not invest money that you cannot afford to lose. You should be aware of all the risks associated with the foreign exchange trading and seek advice from an independent financial advisor if you have any doubts. This is a live trading room. It is for educational purposes only. No financial advice or recommendations will be provided. Any trades taken during this live session is not a recommendation or suggestion that you should also do the same. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Do not trade money that you cannot afford to lose. Before trading live, always operate with a written trade plan that identifies rules for entries, exits, targets, and risk management. And now that we have that out of the way, we will get to the charts. And we're going to be looking at a New Zealand USD trade. And we got this thing came out as an alert at 6 o'clock, and it was an ascending wedge. So I started to draw I'm going to get on a lower time frame chart here. So I draw it on a 15-minute chart. And ascending, I've been drawing my wedges a little bit more liberally, I guess you could say, in the sense that I give myself a lot more room on the wedge when I get the alert. And there's becoming a reason for that. But anyway, I started here, it was an ascending, so I started here and I was looking back to see where can I find a possible hit to be able to take it with an ascending starting at the bottom. And then basically the BD area will be pretty much more at the top where the target is. So I start my A here with a low. I look for a significant pivot low or pivot high. I could have used this one just as well. It was a little bit more descending. That's one reason why I didn't really like it, although the alert was up here. And if I would have taken the C and moved it up to where the alert was, that would have been crossing through a lot of candles. So I don't want to be crossing through the candles with my trend line. And basically what I'm looking at a trend line where I'm going to get have an anchor, a hit in the middle, and then another hit before it takes off or breaks to the downside. So that's one reason why I came all the way back here to this pivot over here. It gives me the ascending, it gives me my anchor, my middle hit, and then somewhere past the alert is where I'm looking for the third hit. And actually pretty much got it right here, because this little area right here just barely broke that. So that would be the hit, which is only about a pip or less. There's the anchor, and then here's the upside. So I kept my C here, took the pivot high, the nearest pivot high closest to the wedge without breaking through any candles. This is anchor, a little bit of a hit, a little bit hit. It's not real good because there's still a little bit of room between like this one and the trend line, but it's about as close as I could get without violating my rules. So anyway, this was my wedge. Here's what my alert was. And then I'm looking at the lower time frames. And as you can see over here where the alert, what I'm looking at right now, I'm looking at a few different things that I find has been very helpful actually. And that's looking at these 3 moving averages when they start to consolidate and bunch up. And you'll see like, here was my D. So I'd like to see a close above the D. In this case, and you can actually even make it, I like this, pretty much I want to see the close above the D, but that's getting fairly high past the wedge. But if you also look and see for a possible earlier entry, you can be looking at your 1 minute chart, and you can see where the moving average is. It came down, it pretty much tested the bottom of the wedge, came back up, all the 3 moving averages consolidated and crossed. And then if you get the close above, where you get the five period crossing over the 62 with a close above it, now you can look at either this candle here, or you can also just look at the basic close. It gives you a real aggressive entry, but it also gives you an earlier entry with the momentum going. You have your hooks, you've got everything going to the upside, you have your crossover, the moving averages, and this one came back and kind of retested this area right here where the moving averages were, and then it broke to the upside. So this already developed a little bit of a zone. You can still wait till it crosses the upper wedge and closes above. But this gives you the ability to maybe get a little bit earlier entry before it crosses the wedge, because a lot of times you'll see it's going to start basing before it crosses, comes back up, crosses, comes back in, retest it. And this was a little bit of took a little bit of heat on this, being as aggressive as this. But you can also look to say, okay, where was the highest red candle before the wedge alert? And you can say you can take it, this is the area that we're going to maybe take it in. So have these 2 blue lines as your entry zone from the D to the one before the D, and then this is your entry. Took a little bit of a heat, but does give you a little bit better entry overall. We came up, it came right up to this supply zone, didn't quite get my fill, and now we're right back into the supply zone. This thing could actually give us another chance. Here's a hook. We still have some strength. Now that we are losing some strength on the dollar, we're looking at dollar strong, or excuse me, New Zealand is strong. That's strongest. First currency of the pair. It's above the US, that means it's stronger. And the other thing we had on this particular pair was we had divergence. On the 15-minute chart, we had divergence. Here's a low pivot. It came with a lower low, but if you look down here in your RSIs, you have a low with a higher low. So this is divergence. That's usually a pretty good sign that this could start to reverse and start moving to the upside. All of our moving averages on the 15 are all in the right order. We have the 62, the 13, and the 5 on the 15-minute chart. And we have the 62, 13. Now this one's starting to retest again here a little bit, but right now it looks to bounce off the 62, and right now it's still inside of our buy zone. So this could give you another entry to go long if you want to take a chance to that. I would say there's nothing wrong with it. You're still, all of our higher time frame moving averages are strong to the upside. New Zealand is still strong to the US, although it has backed off a little bit. They're both kind of in the middle of the pack, so they are looking to see if it's going to consolidate back into our buy zone after it left. Now it's coming back to see if there's any more orders back here to see if it's going to go up higher again. But right now everything's still says it's a long. We did get the crossover of the 1 minute moving averages, which would be a sign to maybe take an early exit out of this long trade. And it's figuring that you didn't miss the target, but it's also, this is sort of like a no man's land right now where we had to pull back. It's back in the zone. Now the question is this going to break back into the wedge, or is it going to break to the upside? We don't know the answer to that. But right now, on the higher time frames, I'm still seeing it as being a trade to the upside. And that's my analysis of the New Zealand dollar. Any questions on that? Any comments?
Yeah, I like what you've started to do to kind of like stretch it out a little bit, give it a little bit more room to play with.
Yeah, one thing I've been finding out is that oftentimes by the time, especially when you draw the wedges, you're trying to catch where the alert was and trying to get as close and have enough room to where you can still get in. By the time it would break the wedge, we were just barely getting our 5 pips, and it was reversing on us. And so I was looking at a way to try and figure out how to get a little bit earlier entry, and I'm finding out the moving averages on this 1 minute chart when it's trying to, as you're seeing, they're starting to consolidate, like even like right here, they're consolidated in this area. You don't want them to be too far apart because that will, you don't want like the 62s up here and everything else is down here. You kind of want to wait for them all to be in the same tight little zone. And then you see where it breaks, and then you have your RSIs moving in the right direction. It breaks, the moving averages break. And a lot of times that's enough to get just enough of an early enough entry to, by the time you get up to your wedge, you may already have, at least you get your spread out of the way, maybe even get another couple pips profit. And then you only need a couple more pips before you're out of the trade. And it does, rather than doing that, I mean, we had another way where we were doing it, where we had a parallel line with the upper trend line or the upper part of the wedge with 2 pips. But I'm finding that this is probably almost as useful. And then using wherever I put my D, I like to put especially when you have a nice long couple of red candles here, put it to where then you get the close above the D. Now that gives us a little bit more punch to get in, but like even like here, it didn't really close above. We did get the close here above the wedge, but it came right back down into the wedge. But this moving average area is still held to a sense, especially when you see the green line coming down and it can break through the 62. This is another consolidation area right in here.
Yeah, it's a really good trade as well.
Yeah, and so
Because
it looks like
when it doesn't break price, I mean, you're not going to the downside.
Yeah, and so you see it came right back into our entry zone. And now it's starting to, if you get another close above here, you can maybe take another shot at this target up here. And I may even do that here. CU, New Zealand, USD.
Yeah, I see exactly what you mean. You
And
see
so
how it did a little bit deeper of a retrace?
yeah, here's a consolidation. We got this candle closed above this red candle right here. A little deeper retrace, but still respected this area right in here. Now it's coming up, and we do have our green fib line. This is a 15-minute fib line right here. Is where is it here? It's, oh, I gotta turn them on. Here's our green. Here's our 5-minute green line as well, right up here. And so this is the target. It's up into our supply zone. We just have to see if it's going to get up high enough. Now it does have to get above this red candle right here. This one could be a little bit of a problem, but we'll see. It's only on a 1-minute chart, so it's not real significant, but it does matter. We have to take a look at that. We have a high. Now, right now we have a lower high. We have a high, a low, a lower low. So we have a higher high and a lower low. So right now we have a little bit of an area right in between. Here is where our playground is now becoming. This is area of indecisiveness. Let's see, where's my...
You see how your RSI hooked back?
Right.
Came back, it hit the top, came down, broke the middle zone there, and now we're gonna look for it to come back up and then pull everything up. So we'll see what happens. Look, it looks like a 513.62 cross, no?
Yeah. On the 513. Yeah, right now we have the consolidation on the 1 minute. But you see, every time it's been consolidating, it's been pretty much holding this trend line here, this bottom trend. It's actually forming a little bit of a trend in itself from where the wedge alert here is. So here's a low, here's a high, here's a higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, and this is still this low right here is about the same as this low right in here. So it's still trending in the upward direction, very ever so slightly. It's not a real steep, not a real aggressive move, but it's still hanging in there. This is getting to be a little bit late in the day for the New Zealand pairs because they've been trading all night long, and now they're starting to close up shop for the day over in Asia. And you can even see that in this particular case, you did get the break of the wedge. This is the main wedge right here. And if you look, you're actually, it's just basically trending with higher highs and higher lows. And you have a little bit of a trend line along in here. And did we just get another alert?
Yeah,
We just got another alert. Okay, we'll take a look at that one. This one's still in play. We're still looking for. I'm still trying to look for to get to the target here. And we have another alert right now at.
It's the U.S. yen. It's not showing up on yours yet.
Here goes U.S. yen at 8.15. Let's take a look at that one. And I just happen to have a U.S. yen chart. Yep. And that was a ascending U.S. yen. So 15-minute chart. We're going to be looking. We'll keep our eye on that New Zealand. If somebody can keep an eye on that, that'd be good. While I draw this out. Where's my tools here? Where'd they go? There's 8.15. There's the line. Let's make this one bigger here. It was ascending. So I'm looking at, here's where the alert was. I'm looking for start my A down below. And I think what I'm going to, the fact this is a nice strong move up, I want to make sure I can engulf that one a little bit. It's already broken this this line. So actually right now I'm looking at this thing as both of them going towards the upside.
Hey Al,
Yeah.
a little bit of something that I saw here. On the 30-minute, it's a huge move down, and that retracement, that pullback that's holding your entire wedge from the bottom, from the lower bottom to way
one?
back there to here, that actually makes a 50 to 61.8 retracement of that higher move at the 30-minute.
So what that's really doing is it's giving us a wedge after a nice big move, probably to the downside, possibly.
It could be a continuation.
Or continuation, yeah, that'd be the continuation wedge. And that's, okay, let's go ahead and draw this, because basically that would help support this direction of the wedge. So let's go with, let's just go with back here. We still have here's an A, here's a hit. I'm going to bring this back down a little bit to, let's see if we can draw this. I'm going to bring this over here. I want to get this thing pointed in the other direction, though.
Oh, for sure.
Now the question is, how do I do that? How am I going to get that to? There we go. I'll do that. I'll move this one over here. Here's our upward wedge that we're looking, and we see.
That looks good.
Yeah, on the 15 minutes. So if this is the case with this one, how's our New Zealand doing? It's still not behaving very well. Let's see here. So we have the strength on the 15-minute chart. Strength is on the dollar, not by much. They're pretty much even. So this is a fairly strong pullback. And so we're looking at see if it's going to break to the downside. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this is my main wedge. I'm just going to thicken this up a little bit so we can keep an eye on it. And I'm going to come to my lower time frame, and I'm going to go to my 1 minute chart, expand this out a little bit, and see if I can find a wedge inside the wedge, then using both of these trend lines as a target, and maybe for an earlier entry. And on the 1 minute, the yen is strong, second currency of the pair, strong to the downside. And so we have a little bit of a nice move up. This one's going sideways right now. I'm seeing this thing's trending sideways between, here's a hit. I have to go up a little bit higher with this one. We're crossing this. Let's just take another closer look at this ascending. So I'm going to use this one for a different wedge. Just see how this works here. This is on the 1 minute. Take that, and we're going to take this one down to here, flatten this out to the top. I'll make this one white just because we can. Getting a little bit of a break to the downside. This is weak here. Three bars on the whole moving average. We'll see if this thing comes up and gives us a nice little pullback to retest. Now this C can come all the way down the level with the A before we really get the full break. Right now I'm looking for this thing. It's broke the wedge. I'm looking for it to come back up into the wedge to retest this area. And then if it breaks again, then we can take this trade short. Right now it's looking to be more of a short than a long. But I want to see these RSIs come on up towards the top up here. And if we can get a, let's see, we have a nice strong move down. And so right now what I'm looking for is we get a close. If you just look over here, there's not a lot of wicks all the way down to where the A is. And if we go from the A, that's at 87, coming up here to, that's only 3 pips between the C and the A. Get a nice little pullback coming up. Let's check our moving averages on this. Moving averages, we had the nice little cross in the moving averages. And we're going to see if it can hold, if the 62 can hold. You see, like, right, what happened to my little bars that I had here? Some things just keep on changing for me. And this is a nice little pullback. We'll see what happens with this. This is the nice red candle. This is basically, this would be like a 1 5 minute candle that came down, small little pullback. Another test of the new trend. So this is our, so this is basically the middle hit of the, here's my anchor. Here's the middle hit coming up. Now here we have our B. There's the anchor. Here's the hit. Now if it comes up and tests this and can't break through the top or just whipsaws us up through the top here, it may give us an opportunity to go short. I don't want to be taking this thing long when these RSIs are way up here like this. I like to see it hook and then come down to have enough room to retest this lower part. This could be an early entry to the upside, but I think this thing, it has possibly more downward potential than the upward potential. Let's look at our 5 minute chart, see where the moving averages are on it. And check our moving averages on the 15. Right here, here's where our 62 is on the 15, all the way down here. So I'm going to make a note of that. I'm going to see something here. That's, I don't know why I'm not seeing my other toolbar that was down here. That's a little perplexing.
Has your charts been working better ever since
Yeah,
we did that
yeah,
reset on it?
yeah. They actually have been. I'm not sure. And actually, I think if I just do a, let me just try this. No, I don't want to stop what I'm doing here. We'll just have to live with what we got. And if we have a, go with a horizontal array over here. So this is, if we get a close below this point right here, here's a little bit of a nice strong blue candle coming up. If we get a close below here, we may be looking at a short. I'm going to try not to predict or to judge which way this thing's going to break, but I am looking to see where we may be able to get in early. Now right here, the US is now stronger to the end by 2. So this one's flipped. This one hasn't quite flipped yet. These are the moving averages are starting to consolidate right in here. We did get the consolidation. Here's our, see, if we get a close above this, right now we have a lower high and a lower low still. This is like, almost like another little wedge inside the, there's like 3 wedges almost. You have the major wedge, this one, and then you almost have nice big move, nice move down, forming another little wedge right in this area right here.
Yeah, I almost don't like going against the 30-minute, you know, or the 15-minute, like the whole moving average. I like staying in that direction.
It would be good, yeah. That's ideally, that's the, in an ideal world, that would be the case. One thing I'm looking at with this one though is that it's yeah, this
pretty
one
flat.
right now it's consolidating right now. It's hard to say which way this thing could break because you're getting a lot of whipsawing right here because we had a crossover here, went up, crossed over again, went down. Now it's trying to cross again. So right now it's still making. Here's a high, here's a low, here's a lower high. Now we have a lower low. So the trend, the strength is off the 30-minute to the downside. But that doesn't mean it's not going to break and come up and give us an opportunity to retest the top of the major wedge, which is up here. And if, now the question is there enough room to the upside to do that? That's only 5 pips, not a lot of room. That's enough to maybe get a couple pips out of it, but that's about going to be it. And right now the dollar is starting to show some strength. And with our New Zealand trade, it's also showing some dollar strength to that as well. So we don't want to go too much against the, and the dollar is basically number 3 compared to the other 8. Dollar is still weaker compared to the other currencies, but it is stronger to the New Zealand. New Zealand's number 2 right now. So there's just a little bit of a switch coming over. They're starting to consolidate and switch a little bit as far as the strength goes as we're getting closer to the open of the U.S. markets. Is what I'm seeing. Right now, I want to see a close above here. Ideally, a close above the D. That would be earlier to the major trend. So we have a couple little areas we're looking at right here. This one. And this to the upside. This would be the buy zone to go long. And then we have another area. We have a break close below this candle. And a close below where the C is. Ideally, if we get a close below the C, I'm probably going to take this thing short. And right now we sit on our hands and wait for a
Al, Argo is asking whether or not the New Zealand trade is still ongoing or not.
it's starting to we're certainly taking some heat on it, that's for sure. I would say that right now it's testing the 62 on the 15. So I would say hold tight on that one for right now. If we get a break below the, I would say if it starts getting a close below 62.29, we may want to just bail on that trade. Excuse me, 67.29. Because right now it's just bouncing off the 62 moving average, which on a 15-minute chart, it's right here. Let me go mark that if I can. Right here is where it's bouncing off of 1562. That's going to be right here. And that's right where we're at right here on the 15 minutes. So we'll see if this holds, and actually that's where the bottom of the wedge is. I'm just going to hang on that just a little bit longer still, because right now we're all the way down here with the hook. It came back down, retested the zone. Now it's retesting the top of the wedge is basically what it's doing. And you'll usually get a pretty strong bounce off that 62 on the 15-minute. And we still have a higher low on this.
Another alert just came through.
And let's see what that one is. That one is a US CAD, one of our favorite ones. US CAD,
Yeah.
descending US CAD. So that means descending US CAD. That means looking to the strength to the US dollar. The dollar is starting to get stronger here.
So Argo's asking, I don't know if you answered that, but he's asking, is it going or not?
Is
Yeah,
it
he
going?
basically answered that one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Must have missed that. It's just
Yeah,
the
I
way
would
it was
say
written.
I would say that it's, I'm going to hold on that a little bit. We did get a close right on that 62 on the 15-minute chart. But with the dollar's strength, dollar's getting stronger here. I think we're going to be taking, with this thing closes above the D, going to be going long on the US yen. We didn't get the close above the D on the 1 minute. What time is it we have? It's 31. I say if it can pull back and close within the zone, we can take this thing long. Came up, see where the hook was? It came up, it hooked back down in. Now it still might give us a chance to go on. All the moving averages still on the 1 minute are still good. But now we're looking at, we did get the close above this one. Now we're going to see if we can hold the line with this 1 minute candle here. Is it going to close inside? If this is going to pull back and bounce off of the moving averages inside the zone, then we can maybe take it long as a pullback. This is starting to hook over. And let's see here. I'm going to go with a buy. Looking at a buy. I've got to change my screen here. I get this thing logged in. There it goes. And we're going to be looking at a buy stop right around 105.96. I'll give at least a 10 pip stop. You can adjust that as we get going. A buy stop at and I say 105.96. Should be above our ask price, and it is. That's right within our spread, 1.4 spread. New Zealand did get a bounce off that 62 on the New Zealand, so that's still hanging in there. But now we're having a little bit of opposite trades. We have strength on the US yen, and we have strength of and we're looking at strength on New Zealand. So the dollar is weaker than the New Zealand, but stronger than the yen. So right now there's a little bit of there's not a lot of conclusion that the dollar is getting stronger right now. It's sort of in the middle of the pack. None of the yen and the New Zealand, either one of those are not overly strong, as is the, if you look at our chart over here, you'll see that the yen, they're all in the lower half of this thing. None of them are really, the New Zealand or the yen, none of them are very strong on this 30-minute. And same way with over here on the 5. Ultimately, the New Zealand dollar is stronger on the higher time frame, which is, this is a 4-hour chart. So we don't have a lot of real confirmation on this. We're starting to go break. It is breaking to the upside. I would expect it's maybe going to come up and retest this. And let's see where. I like using the 5-minute period on this fib tool on the 1 minute, just because with the yen pair, this gives us a little bit better range on it. So I'd be looking at the target on this to be probably right around in here, which is pretty much right at the top of the wedge, that's only going to be 4 pips. So this is pretty aggressive just to the top of that. You're not really looking to get into full 7 pips. If you took this thing long, as I did here, but you're going to see that you're probably not going to get a lot of push on this. A lot of that would have to helps to confirm that what Matt was saying was that the 30-minute was still showing it was a move down. We just have to wait and see. Right now, if we get a close, again, if we get a close, this would be my, I'd be looking at this as being my stop zone to the downside. If we get a close below this blue candle where actually I'm going to be looking at this whole range where the crossover occurred. If we get a close below this blue candle right here and this C part, if we get a close below that, then I'll probably want to be out of this trade. Until then, it's a little bit of an earlier entry to the break, but this one could still work. New Zealand's starting to recover a little bit.
I didn't enter on that one yet. I was just being a little bit more conservative. When I play around with this one, it'll be probably a smaller entry.
We do have a little bit of a trend going on up here. We do have a higher high. Here's a high, higher high. Here's a little doji right here. So there's a little bit of a battle going on between the buyers and the sellers right in this area. Like I said, if I get a close, this is a extended range candle. We had 3 1-minute candles, fairly decent size. So if we get a close below this area where the wedge crossover was, I'll be looking to get out of this trade in reverse positions. And we also have here's our 62. So our 62 on the 15-minute chart is way down here. 62 is still below everything. So there's still some strength to the upside on this. And the New Zealand, it's still kind of, on our New Zealand trade, it bounced off of here, but now we got the crossover. So this one may be worth just bailing on. I'm going to give a little bit more breathing room on this. See what happens with these moving. If this came up, see if it can close above the 62 on here. Again, right now it's still in our buy zone to go long on this. Here's another hook. Just see if it closes below. Here's the wedge right here. And here's the 62 on the 5 minute. Let's go back and check our New Zealand or US yen. And so right now the moving averages are still, you had a little hook, couldn't cross over the yellow. Right now we're still trying to follow this yellow and the white, trying to keep the price outside of this area. Here's a engulfing candle. Here's a 1 minute engulfing candle, this red candle to the downside. But we'll see, that could have been a strong, just a head fake to get everybody, scare everybody out that got in up here, take their stops. Now we'll see if it's going to break to the top here. Still looking for a break and close above this yellow line. And that's about where we got in the first place. We're still having dollar strength by 3 right now. So right now we're looking at breaking out of our zone with the strength of the dollar. And on the 15 minute, we have a spread of 3 on the 15. That's a good sign. And if we get another close, if we can get the close, we never did get the close above here. This was aggressive what we got in here. We never got the close. Looks like it's about to do that now.
You see your hull on the 5 minute flipped green, and then on the 15 it's still red, which means that it's probably going to flip green.
Well, right now, right now we've got, this one should follow through it. Right now we got 2 of the 3. We're only waiting on we have the flip on the 15 on the 5 minute. We don't have it on the 1 minute yet. That was because of this pullback. Once this thing flips green and we get a close above here, we should be good to go. All of our RSIs are out of the 60 zone on the 15, pointing upward towards the 89. Same way as on the 5 minute, they're out of the 60 zone, pointing upward. This one has a little bit of a hook, but it's retesting this area right in here. So we just still don't have the close. This was anticipatory. No. Moved. This one was anticipating that it was going to close and never did, and it still hasn't closed above. We had a wick above, we didn't get the close above. Now the question is, can it hold and break through the top of this? It certainly has a battle going on right around this area. And this is a lot of times, this is what I experience a lot with Monday mornings. A lot of times you'll get a lot of tries to break, then doesn't, and then comes back and tries to break the other side and doesn't, and you get whipsawed. Best thing to do is give it some wiggle room to, and just know where you want to get out. If it, like right now, if it closes below this candle right here, then I'll probably get out of this trade. But this is an area where you could be, you could come back in, get you out of the long, and then think you're going to go short, and then whipsaws you back again.
Yeah,
right now,
it's really consolidating quite a bit, right?
And you're not looking at a big moves here. You're not looking at big pip gains. From the peak there to here, that's only 6 pips. That's not even your 7 pip target. And like I said, to the upside, it's still not going to be your 7 pip target to here. But once it breaks through, but the thing is, it's on the 15 minute, your moving averages are in the right order to go long. On the 5 minute, it's in the right order to go long. And right now on the 1 minute, it is, we got the 5 and the 6 and the 13 crossing. They're in the order to go long. And the US dollar is still showing the strength, which again, first currency of the pair, strength to the dollar, you're looking to go up. So I'm still okay with this thing being a long position. And the New Zealand is just sitting there trading inside of a zone. It's trying to decide which way it's going to go. And a lot of that may depend on which way the US market opens up today. And that's going to be another 45 minutes.
So I actually had my Fibonacci backwards. So that was a newbie mistake. Anyway, so it's catching up to the 50% retracement on so UJ at the 30-minute, it's almost at the 50% retracement. The 50% retracement would be 106.009.
You're talking about on the 30-minute chart, that retracement,
Yeah.
that big retracement?
Yeah. And that whole move on the 30-minute was 175 pips.
So basically, I think if I understand what you're saying, where is that tool? Darn it. So where's my Fibonacci here?
Yeah, Alfie. Very, very different in different ways. We're looking at different things. We're not qualifying our trade based on RSI or whatnot.
Yeah, you're looking at the higher time frame. I'm still looking at pretty much just the wedge. Now, if it breaks the bottom of the wedge, I'll be using this for a target zone down below, but it's got to break through this whole thing first. And so we're basically looking with the Fibonacci from here to, let's see, that's not the one I want. Fibonacci's.
Yeah, just to explain a little bit of difference between some of the other strategies, but Fusion specifically will focus a lot on RSI, and if RSI does not meet the criteria, which sometimes it doesn't, there's no trade. There's no question about it. But we'll use different indicators and different ways to confirm our trade or to disqualify our trade. So there are, I would say, pretty substantial differences in what we're doing and what the Fusion strategy is.
Yeah, I think it's important not to try. I mean, there are some things about each strategy that is helpful. Oftentimes, it's sort of like if you put too many ingredients in the pot, you can ruin the pot. So even though they all taste good on their own, oftentimes you can look at some of the other factors, but you're better off in just picking a strategy and knowing that this is what works on that strategy, and maybe keep in the back of your mind what the other strategies are. But each strategy pretty much needs to be holding on its own to be successful overall. In other words, if you look, for example, even if you're like looking at the higher time frame, you need to know what's happening on the higher time frames. I think that's a given. You need to know how to do that. Now the question is, will that stop you from taking a trade from what's happening on the higher time frame on a lower time frame retracement, or you just wait for it to get to that point on the higher time frame to say, okay, now I'm looking for that short or that long in that zone where the higher time frame is. And oftentimes that's what you're really doing. Ultimately, that's one reason why I'm drawing these higher time frame wedges or these bigger wedges and trying to find that wedge that's going to be inside of it so I can maybe get that earlier entry. But ultimately speaking, you're looking for the breakout to the upside, or you're looking for the breakout to the downside. But is there enough room to get an earlier entry on a lower time frame reference to what's happening on the big one? Like Matt was saying, that we're looking at probably close. What was the price on that 50% retracement of the 30-minute you said?
We were looking at, let me just go back and check this out.
I'll put a line on that, see where the 50% is.
Oh, I went back to Euro USD because I was monitoring another trade. Hold on, UJ.
Yeah, what was the 50 of that 30-minute down move? What's the 50% retracement?
106.01.
So pretty much right about where we are right now.
Yeah, 106.
Right about where my target is.
This
So
could be.
So basically,
Yeah.
pretty much the top of the wedge is where the 50% retracement is, and that's probably one reason why it's having such a hard time right here.
I really like those odds, by the way, just because everyone likes 50, 61, 38, 2. The odds are really good when you got those big retracements, right?
Yeah, and also you're looking at it's coming right at 106. That's a whole number pretty much. It's just a little bit over the whole number of 106. So it makes sense that you're going to get a lot of battle going on right at that whole number, that 106 number, as a retracement. And so that's pretty much what we're experiencing right now. That 106 number is a pretty strong, I'd say it's a pretty strong number. 106. So it's going to be up way up here. I said it's pretty much right where the top of our wedge is. Get it right here. So here's the 106.01 you said, right?
Yeah.
And so we can make this as our target as a 50% retracement. And that's of that 30-minute. That's referencing this this big move here from up here down to the bottom here. That 30% is going to be, that 50% is right here. That 106.01 is what Matt was saying. And I said that's right here at the break of the wedge. And that could be our third hit to decide either going to break up to go higher or it could break to go lower. What I'm also looking at from the 15-minute standpoint, we have right now we have a candle with a wick right here. So once it breaks, this is the zone I'm looking at. Let me just see something here. Uh, I have to pull up another chart here. I'm just trying to drive me crazy here, not being able to get these tools in here. It was working earlier. We have the break here. Okay, well, there it is. Now we're still looking. We did get a close. Here's our reference line for where our D was. We did get the close. We have a lot of wicks right in here. It's very wicky. Right now, everything is, the moving averages are still holding. And about by 9 o'clock, when we get a 1 hour candle close, we should have a little move just before that. We'll see if we can come up to our target here. It's starting to break. New Zealand's still holding its own right now. That 106.01 looks like it could be a good target. I'm just going to back that target off a little bit. It's still going to be 5 pips. Pretty much right at break even so far on the entry. This one was a little bit better. So I'm going to expect to bounce off the top of this trend line right up in here. So we're only going for our, 7 pips is our initial target, but we'll take 5. We'll gracefully take 5. So once you get in the trend trade, a lot of times I like to follow it on the 5 minutes so it doesn't get you too emotionally involved with it. All of our moving averages are looking good right here. 5 minute, the 5 period moving average is still holding. Looks like the dollar is starting to get stronger. May want to think about bailing on that New Zealand trade. Let's see how it works on that 62 on this New Zealand. Still bouncing off the 1562. Still above the wedge where it broke the wedge. And our 1 hour candle is about to close in about another 3 minutes. Let's see how this thing works. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, we've got still looking for a target up here for our US yen. US is now stronger by 5 on the 5 minute chart, which is showing good strength. All the moving averages are holding, but we are going to be looking at a bounce off of this top of this wedge. We're going to see if it can break the wedge. And so right now with the New Zealand, it looks like it's just going, it's consolidating sideways. So this looks like the box that's playing in right here from here. This is the playground it's playing in right now. Still bouncing off the 62. You see, we're getting a lot of whipsawing between the crossover as you get to crossovers. Crossover here, crossover back over here. Eventually it's going to break and this could come down and retest one of these. But here, again, here's the top of the wedge. And it's coming to the peak of where the wedge is. So this one, I'm still on this one, still hanging tight with that one. And we're nice little break on here. We have a nice little move going up here on the US yen. Is that another alert that I just got? No, that was something else.
No, it wasn't an alert.
That was another software that we're testing right now. Looks like gold's making a move to the upside. Oh, there you go. We hit our target on this one. The yen hit the target, and we're starting to look at a bounce off the New Zealand 9 o'clock. That was the 9 o'clock candle. Bouncing off the top of the wedge. I just made my target on the US yen. Now we're going to see what happens with the New Zealand. Yen broke strong to the upside. And let's see where the Fibonacci, just a 5-minute Fibonacci. This would still be the target. This could still be the target up here. Here's the 5-minute, the blue line. There's the green line. And right now it's right in the middle between the two. So that trade's done. That was your 2% for the day on that trade. Now let's go back to the New Zealand. And that one may be worth getting out of that one. I'm out of that one. If it comes back and gives me another opportunity to go long, possibly I may take it. But right now I'm going to cut my losses on that one. The dollar is getting showing strength. And with the dollar showing strength, you want to be going short with that one. And if we go to our 1-minute chart, our 15-minute chart, take a look and see what things are looking like on this. Take some lines off of here. We came right up into that supply zone. Now we're looking at this area down below. We did have divergence here. Now we could still have another bounce off of this could be the third hit. Came back up. Just take some of the stuff off here so you can see what we're doing. Extend that out. So it came up to the supply zone. You can see right where it came right on upward. Top of this strong move down, came up, tested it. Now we're looking at the area down below here. Let's see. Here's an anchor. Here's a hit. Here's a hit. Now we'll see if this trend line holds. This will be a good test right here. We have the crossover. It broke the 50. It broke the 62. So now it's all above that. And let's see what it looks like on the lower time frame. Tweak this. Let's tweak this one up over here. It gets on just as tight as it can. So that held there. And the range between this and down here is our 13 pips. So still not a huge move. Now it's testing it. It closed below the 62 on the 15. Now we'll see if it's going to hold and go back up the other way. Nice little trend line developing in here.
Is anybody in the room in this trade?
I just got out of it. Let's see how anybody else yet. Did anybody take that New Zealand long? They still could have gotten a few pips. It did get profitable just a little bit, but took right off the supply zone.
Alfie's in. Jannar says no.
Yeah, when the dollar started getting stronger on the, it looks like the S&P is showing that the dollar, some dollar weakness there, or some dollar strength actually. The S&P is starting to go down. And gold's going up. S&P is going down. And right now we're sitting here trying to figure out which way the dollar is going to go against the New Zealand.
Ryan got his daily target on the JPY.
Good, yeah. That's JPY ended up being a nice little trade here. It broke through, and this thing could still keep on going on up. But you see, it came right about midway between these two fib zones. Let's try something here. I can reload. This is the dollar yen AP. Let's try this, see if it reloads better for me. No, it didn't. Let me try something else here. And we have to do some. There we go. This one. So I've got. This is what I'm looking for. This little thing right here. I'm trying to figure out what happened to it on my other charts. So New Zealand right now, New Zealand actually can still be in play right now. It's I'm going to make this a different color because this is a secondary. I kind of like the yellow one better here. So here's an anchor, here's a hit, here's a hit. And now we have this testing this area right down below here. But there really isn't a lot of wiggle room in here. So, and this thing could go back and forth for all day and still keep you in the trade without hitting your stop. Do we have any questions or anything while we're waiting around here? Anybody wants to mention anything or talk or ask us a question, you can just raise your hand. We'll turn your mic on.
Everybody's very quiet.
Yeah. So right now you're looking at there's a high, well, let's see. Here's a high. There's a low over here. Here's a high. Then you have a lower high, higher low, lower high at the C, and then you have a lower low at the B. So right now it's starting to develop a downward trend. If it breaks the C, if we can get a close above the C, this thing could still go back up and retest that red zone. If we get a close below but right now it's trending to the downside. Here's our RSIs are up here. It's got a little bit of a hook. Our moving averages are consolidating right now. So right now we don't know which way, but if it breaks what I'm going to be looking at is if it breaks the B, then we could do a short, but also keep in mind, here's the bottom of your wedge. And this would be the target down here. So from the B to here, you're only looking at 2 pips between. So this is actually going to be your zone to sell. Right now, the 1562 broke, checked it, came back up, broke it again. Now the question is, what's it going to do? You have a little bit of a trend line. I said you have your anchor, your hit, your test. Now it's testing the bottom of this. And let's see, the dollar is, let's see, where's our dollar strength here, or weakness? Dollar is still pretty, overall, the dollar is still pretty weak overall. Had a little bit of a pop right there at 9 o'clock, but that was short-lived. And the New Zealand was the stronger of the pair throughout the night. If you look at the higher time frame, and New Zealand still on the 4-hour chart is still second strongest next to the Aussie. That's all from the overnight sessions. And we'll just have to wait and see. It still has basic strength. But even when you have it strong on a higher time frame, you're going to get the pullbacks where it's going to be pulling back. And then if the higher time frame still maintains the strength, then that'd just be a pullback to go long then. There's just enough to shake everybody out of this thing. I still want to see it close above the C before I would take it long again. And I may just stay away from this pair at this point in time. You don't have to take every trade, but a lot of times when you get stopped out, that doesn't mean you shouldn't get back in again if it gives you the opportunity, if everything is still showing that you should be staying in the trade. There's nothing wrong with taking the stop and protecting your profit in case it just tanks on you, but in the same token doesn't mean you can't get back in again. Looking at the 15-minute chart. I said Monday mornings, there's a lot of consolidation going on Monday morning. So everybody's trying to get right now you're looking at the last day of the month. So people are closing out for profits. They're also trying to take new positions for the week and the next month. And so you're going to be you can get a lot of these little whipsaws going on right here. And sometimes it's better just to stay out of the market the last day and first day of the month or the week. So right now, this zone still holding. So even if it breaks, the question is, do you have enough room to get your target on this if it breaks? And we're still looking at the break close of the C, but you still have this whole area to have to deal with. We can move this back to there. We can move this over to here. You can move this on up to this area right in here. And if this breaks, we still have this big wick right here. So if you can break and it gets above the yellow, you've got some sellers here, but there was some buyers pushed it on up, sellers pushed it right back down. 67.52 would be the target area if it breaks this. So from this B area to the top of this, there's 7 pips. You could get another 7 pips if it gets a break here. Let me take another shot at this possibly. I'll give it one more time. New Zealand USD. And we got scared out here. If there's anybody that hung into it, good for you. Back to being strong on New Zealand. If we get a close above the wedge, I'm looking for a close above the A. And right now it's, this is a new 15-minute candle. Just remember, this is a supply zone. It's got to get through this area. And the target zone would be right up in here. Here's the blue line. If we can break this one, then it could be a target, could only be all the way up to this one. And you'll see how this candle closes. It can close on the 5-minute. Strong candle.
That's a really big candle.
Yep, strong move. But it says coming right up into these wicks right over here that were over here.
That's almost an engulfing 15, right?
It may end up being, well, certainly from not quite. Well, on the 15, yeah, it would be pretty close. I'm going to close this one out for a little bit of a profit on this. So right now what it's doing is eating up some of these wicks that were over here on the 15-minute. On the 5-minute, this is the top. This would be the wick area of the This is the top of the area where it would be getting challenged here. I would want to see a hook back coming in. This could be a strong rally, could be a rally base rally. This thing could break up to the upside pretty strongly, actually. All you can do is project what you know. How strong were these sellers coming in? When the sellers took over here, it still couldn't come up any higher. But now we've got the break above this area. But now it's looking at this area right in here. From the 5-minute standpoint, we know we made a higher high from over here. And we have a higher low. So I can move this up. I'll move this over to tag that. This trend line now is still valid. And this thing could just be ranging the entire trend line all the way up and back and down. Oh yeah, about 7 more minutes left in this session. Now, do we have any questions at all? Quiet group today.
Yeah, no questions, it seems.
I said we had, what, 2 alerts this morning? Had one, the US, oh, we never did look at the US CAD, did we?
No.
Let's take a look and see what it's doing. Let's see here. And that was at 8:30. We'll draw that out real quick and see if there's anything left on it at this point. I really wonder why that's not coming up. Now, do you have any suggestions why I lost that tool that I had on the bottom here?
What tool? The toolbar?
Well, this toolbar that I have here, I was able to, I have another toolbar, but for some reason, I used to get it on all the charts, and now for some reason on these new charts, it's not coming up.
Go Alfie, that's an interesting question because not all the trades are the same. And so we're talking about sometimes 5 pips is a good target for take profit. Sometimes 5 pip stop loss is a good target. Sometimes 10 pip stop loss is a good target. It's really, it's not a set and just go, right?
No, what I'm talking about is just the toolbar itself. This.
Oh, no, sorry. I was talking to Alfie.
Oh, you're talking about Alfie. Oh, okay. I didn't know
Yeah,
you were talking
he
to
sent a
somebody else.
question. I don't know if anyone answered it, but he was talking about what you want. We like 7 pip take profit, 7 pip stop loss as a general rule, but that there are exceptions to every rule. Yeah, let's try and find that after. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe go to the 888 room afterwards.
Let's do that.
Descending. Let's see. Descending. It was a descending wedge, I believe. So I'm going to start up high to low. So I'm going to find my tool. And so I'm going to go descending. So I'm going to start up high the A and bring it down to the low for the B. Try and find where I can find maybe a trend developing. I'll tuck this in over here. We'll see where I can come up with. And then here was this was at, see, it was at 8:30, so I need to change this. 8:30 right there is where the alert was. I'm going to tuck this in here, start with, and we're going to see where the trend on this is. And we have a anchor. Here's a hit. Here's a breach of it. So we may have to bring this on. That may have just been an anomaly too, possibly. And so we're just going to take this, flat line it out here. And see, we have an anchor. We'll use this one as our hit. We'll see if here's another hit. So right now we've got an anchor, a hit, trend line held. And right now it's inside this area. So we're looking at, we have a 15 minutes 62 up here. So we're going to make a note of that. I'll make sure I know where that is, because if it comes up and tags it, I want to know where they are. That's right there where the alert was. And let's make this 1652 right there. And we have and so this would be the low. We'll see if that's going to give us a zone right in there. Then come to my 1 minute. Yeah, I like that for the hit for the C. That's the third hit. So I'm moving this over. I'm recognizing that here's where the C was. So that's going to be the second hit from the anchor. Here's the third hit right here. So this is the area that I'm looking at. Now the question would be, would there be enough room to the upside from where the C is to the 62? That's 9 pips. That would be enough to take a trade if it breaks through the top, or if we get a consolidation in here, if it breaks to the downside, then we have to look and see where is the target area over here. So we're going to go back to our 15-minute chart, see if we can find a target. And here's where the B is. So we'll mark that as a potential target. And if it breaks at 55 to 47, you'd have 7 pips strictly to your B. But now there's the question, is there anything over here on a higher time frame that we can look at? Nothing anywhere near future. Go to a daily. And over here on the daily, you can see there's some congestion here before this big candle coming up. So I would be looking at the wicks of this area right here for a bounce. And if it can break through this, then we're looking at this as a zone. Let me go make this green here, as I can't find my other tool. And I'm going to clone this.
That'd be what, 20 pips?
Probably to the bottom of this candle here. Let's see it from here, there to there, 26 pips. So if it breaks this, we could be looking to the downside, another 26 pips. So this would be the target zone right in there. Go back to our 1 minute chart. Actually, I want to go back to, this is the 15. I want to go back to my 1 minute chart. So this thing breaks the bottom of the wedge here, then we could be looking at a nice little move down. And from the strength meter, our Magellan, the cat is stronger by 3. If it breaks through, we can go short with target of this first target, and the green area is the second target. And our moving averages are all set there, and so we can take this thing short as soon as we get the close below the D. Wait for these hooks to come back up, and maybe should come up, hook again, and then that might be the entry as a test the moving averages. Here's where the moving average, we had the green cross the yellow. This is where it breached. Let's see, right in, here's a nice strong blue candle. Here's where the candle breached. And that's at 30.60. And that's 4 pips in there. And I say we'd be looking to go short on this. I'd be waiting for a little bit of a pullback and then a hook. Or if you want to be aggressive, you can just take it when this thing closes below this D. But knowing that your stop's going to have to be up above this area. All the moving averages are in the right direction on all 3 time frames. As I wait for this thing to come up, all our RSIs are coming down below the 40-60 zone. This thing is hooking but coming back up. This is the retrace. Here was the bounce off the wedge. Now the question is the yellow 62 going to hold? Or the yellow 13 period, is that going to hold? And that's going to be right here where the white 62 on the 1 minute and the yellow 13 on the 5 minute are all pretty much right at the same point. If we can get up and get a red candle off a bounce off of that, we can try taking that short. We should get the hook then. And with that, that's the setup for this US CAD. And we're about ready. The market is now open, and we'll see how things go. Thanks everybody for showing up, and we will see you tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Tomorrow we'll be gone till about 10:15 tomorrow. So we'll see you then.
All right. Great to have you guys. Take care.